Time is 8:06. This is a special presentation. My name is Glenn Wood. Sitting across at a very safe distance is Nick Lerner from our news department. Lady Alex is coordinating everything down below, way down the other side of the building. On the phone with us is Natrona County Health Officer Dr. Mark Dowel. Doctor, thanks for coming on this morning. We appreciate it. When this whole thing started, what really kind of struck me is our sportsman, Frank Gambino, was at an event that he was going to be broadcasting and covering during the whole course of the weekend, and I had him on the air with me, and first thing he says is, well, they're telling us all to leave. And we were all acting as if it was unbelievable. Is this really happening around here?
Well, at first I thought they were just telling Frank to leave, which would be normal.
That would be normal. No, yeah, but the whole place had to clear out. And first it was just the audience, but then it was the press as well, and then finally they just went ahead and canceled the games. A few weeks into this now, Mr. Dowell, I think we're all starting to get the idea that this is a real thing.
Oh, it's the real thing. And what happened that morning was I started looking at the national landscape, and it's always better to be proactive than reactive. And so I started following my gut and my science and experience, and I said, I don't want to be responsible for this virus going all over this state. So about 9:30, I called the director of the county health department, and I said, we got to get fans out of there. We cannot do it this way. I can't live with myself. And then about 30 minutes later, after doing a lot of soul searching, I said, come on, this is stupid. Let's protect the people of Wyoming. I am not going to do this halfway, and I just canceled it. And around that time, after I made the decision and called her, and I know it was very inconvenient and it hurt a lot of high school seniors, and I realize that. I played basketball in high school, I get it. But right after I did it, I looked on the internet, and there was the NCAA canceling all these conference tournaments. Mm-hmm. Just the same way. And I said, well, at least I feel a little bit better that I'm justified because everybody's doing the same thing. That's kind of how that came down.
Okay, well, Dr. Dahle, let's take a look at, for those people who don't understand how you come to that kind of a conclusion, the numbers, the data comes from where, and what causes you to see a red flag and take action?
Well, the numbers that I get from the CDC are mostly where we go, and we look at patterns, and we look at pockets. And we look at what's going on in the states around us. And when you're looking at Colorado, you're looking at what's going on in New York, and you say, well, that's a concentrated population. That's true. We're going to lag behind what happens in the big cities. But we travel. I mean, we're on an interstate. We have an airport. We have people coming up from Colorado. And remember, this thing incubates. What you see now is what was in the community 7 to 14 days earlier. And so I knew that it was in the community somewhere, and certainly in the state. And I've got people from all over the state, concentrated, thousands of people in one spot. What a great place for a virus to spread. That's what you base it on.
Well, it's of course, like you explained, it's such a difficult decision to make, Doctor, and I'm glad that we have somebody like you in that position who's going to make the right call, frankly. I wanted to get, obviously the concern with a big event like that is, hey, this isn't exactly social distancing. So maybe you're the guy to tell us this morning exactly what social distancing is, how you practice that as best you can, and why it's so important.
Well, this virus, by coughing, sneezing, that kind of thing, can fly up to 6 feet in the air and land on surfaces or land on your face or land on your hands. We all touch our faces all day long. You don't even realize it. Well, if you got virus on your hand...
I'm not touching my face right now, I promise.
I didn't see a thing, no.
Okay, well, I can't tell you I am, no. But you sit there and you touch your face. You don't even pay attention to it. Well, you just put the virus in your nose. That's it. That can be your infection. And so social distancing, if you really practice it, it should help, because if somebody sneezes near you, if you've ever seen those videos of how far someone's secretions go when they sneeze, it travel quite a way.
Well, let me
or cough.
ask you a little bit about. I was at a grocery store, and I happened to overhear a lady ask an employee at the store, "So what are you guys doing to make sure everything is wiped down?" And the employee said, "Well, they make us stop every half hour and grab these wipes and go down every aisle and cover everything in the entire store." Other than that, I noticed that I walked into a Sam's Club, and I was going to grab a cart. The lady who usually pushes carts your way at a store like that, first off handed me a wipe and then handed me the cart. And so I'm noticing this at stores, but still, that when you go into areas, at some point, even though we're trying to stay home, you got to go out. So what are the precautions?
Well, what I say is you don't go somewhere if you're going to shop with a cart that doesn't have the wipes.
Yeah.
Forget it. Walk out of the place. 100% of the time you wipe down the handles on the cart, and then you make sure that you either have hand gel in your pocket, in your car, or it's in the store. You cannot sterilize the store, and you cannot sterilize all the food in the store, and wiping it down isn't going to do anything. So it's kind of a waste for the store to do that. People have to do it on the back end of this. So I have gel in my car. I go to the store. I'm smart about it. I keep my hands away from my face, and then when I get to the car, I load the groceries in. I use the hand gel. And that's kind of the pattern you have to be in right now. And it never hurts to use a little extra hand gel, but it can really hurt if you don't. So assume every cart is infected or covered with the virus. And then not to make you paranoid, but just to force you to do the same thing and have it become part of your routine, because this situation is not going away.
Well, let me ask you about,
get used to it. Yeah.
Doctor, let me ask you about this not going away, because when finally we get to the end, whenever we're all allowed to go back to our lives as they were before, sounds to me like our lives are never going to be the same again.
I think we'll be able to go back to a life that's going to be very similar to what we had. But I think we're going to be a little more aware of our surroundings, but we can't live our lives paranoid. So what'll happen is this virus will finally have lost enough, vigor, if you will, because a lot of people will have been exposed, so it will eventually die down. But what we don't want is the population to live their lives scared all the time. Right now, you have to be on your A game, and you have to be really careful. Don't take chances. Follow every recommendation. When it's safe to calm down, it's fine. But the thing that I want to make clear is that we're in a rural area, and no one really knows what this is going to do in rural areas versus cities. Cities make sense. Look at Manhattan. Look at how many people per square mile. In Wyoming, different discussion. So what may happen, which I hope it does not, is this calms down in the summer, which would be awesome, but I hope this doesn't hang around and come back in the late fall and winter when the weather in Wyoming gets cold again. We don't know the answer to that. That's why I say we have to be prepared for this to be around us for quite a while. Again, not doomsday, but we have to mentally be ready that this may be going on several months.
Doctor, you touched on the change in weather during the summer and how that might make a positive distance. My understanding is that heat and humidity are two environmental factors that this virus doesn't necessarily like, but obviously it's a new virus. That's why we don't have a vaccine. That's why this is so unprecedented in a lot of ways. Can you tell us what is known about this virus, and then maybe what are some of the unknowns that make this whole thing a little more complicated?
Well, the important thing that's unknown is it going to have a course like the Spanish flu in 1918? Remember, because it had this huge amount of infection. Mm-hmm. Then it went quiet, and then it came back with a second hump. The virus, the heat doesn't bother the virus. It's the heat outside that you're talking about, the temperatures, because your body's, 98.6, and the air temperature is 98.6. it's not really going to affect the virus. The virus is looking to live inside your body in your respiratory tree, so I don't think that matters. I think what really matters is, again, social distancing, people apart from each other. A virus can't go from person to person if they're 12 feet away from each other.
Natrona
so
County. Go ahead. Sorry,
Right.
finish your thought, please.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Natrona County Health Officer Dr. Mark Dowell. I hope to have you on in future dates. Your wealth of information. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for your work, Doctor.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to a very special edition of Wake Up Wyoming, Wyoming Coronavirus Town Hall Live. More in just a moment. 8:17 is the time.